Hello and welcome to the Spiritual Sisters podcast. It's Gabrielle Celeste, and guess what, guys? It is me and
Brianna. It's just the two sisters. The third one isn't with us today. Hi, guys.
She's doing boss things. So it's just the two of us for this week, but she is dearly missed. And she's, getting all the things done for her Empower Hour session. So be sure to check that out in the links below. But I'm super excited, Bri. I was kind of nervous, huh?
A little bit. Let's see how this is going to go.
I know.
I'm nervous myself, so.
Are you really?
We'll see how it goes.
Well, I actually been wanting to do this topic for a while, and I'm like, okay, it's been coming up quite often. So I'm vibing. No, you're vibing. I'm driving.
You're driving.
I'm driving.
I am getting the auxiliary cord.
She's gonna be
music.
Right. She's well, that's how it goes when we're driving, and if it's like me in literally the driver's seat, Brianna's usually playing DJ in the side.
But anytime I come home and visit, or actually when you come up here, I'm always driving. You never drive. You always throw me the keys. And I mean, I don't mind driving. I love driving. So,
and I'm the DJ. So we switch. Yeah. But Brianna, being the Sag that she is, so Sag Sun, Virgo Moon, Virgo Rising, she's going to be giving all the commentary today.
I forewarn you guys. Sometimes I'm very out of pocket. So we'll see. I'll try and keep it PG.
I feel like it's necessary, though. I always say you humble us.
I'll be blunt. If I need to be blunt, I'll be blunt.
Okay. Well, Brianna, what are we talking about today? So, Brianna, what are we talking about today?
Free will and I don't know the second half. You can say
free will versus fate, Brianna. Free will versus fate.
That one. That's the word I was thinking of.
So, what do you know about it?
What do I know about fate and free will? Free will. Oh gosh, I'm gonna butcher this. I would say free will is the ability to be able to choose, but faith is something that is almost destined to happen.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Do you feel like fate and free will are intertwined?
Maybe. I'm sure there's some significance between the two of them in intertwining them, but then again, it's very different between the two.
I wonder if you'll feel differently after this episode.
Maybe.
So
let's find out.
Let's find out. Okay. Well, I wanted to give the definitions of fate and the definitions of free will. And then I also wanted to provide some examples that hopefully get your brainstorming skill sets going because I think they're intertwined, but it's been coming up a lot lately in my sessions where I'm like, okay, well, and I guess maybe there's a little bit of bias because I'm looking to see what the planets are doing, and I don't think anyone can control the planets. And the only way that you're really going to be able to navigate what they're causing and or affecting you to do is by like walking right through it and working with the cosmic energies. So I'm like, okay, well, is that fate or is it free will? Is it like fate? Like, hey, you're going to arrive at destination A, but you're going to have free will along the way. But then also, like, would you have still arrived at destination A? And was it predestined?
I think about this on GPSs where it says that you're going to arrive at this time, but then you're trying to race it and beat it. That's your free will to drive as fast to try and beat the time.
Oh my gosh. But then it's also like, I never actually thought about the GPS example. That's pretty good. But you know what I was thinking? It's like, have you ever had moments, this just happened to me recently, where I was like literally I was looking for my keys, trying to get out of the house, and I could not find my keys. And it turns out I had put my keys literally in my pocket. Like they were in my pocket the whole time. And then it's almost the idea of like, if it's like that was distracting you from like avoiding a potential accident. Like, have you heard that where angels will make you look for something or you accidentally lose something that like affects you from being somewhere like seconds before, and then
Mm-hmm.
that saves your life. So I'm like, wait, is that like fate?
I
You
don't
know?
know. Maybe.
These,
I didn't think of it like that.
these are the thoughts that I have on a daily basis.
Have you ever looked for your phone when you're actually on your phone?
It's so dumb. Have you ever looked for your sunglasses while they're on your head?
All the time.
All the time. It's so stupid. Anyways, well, we're going to have a discussion on the topic of fate versus free will and the exploration. Say that again. The exploration, say that 10 times fast, of
Nope.
different viewpoints. Okay. So, the definition of fate is that it's a noun. That means the predetermined outcomes of events or the circumstances that befall someone or something. And it's really the belief that events are preordained and unavoidable. That also almost feels like there's like a religious connotation to that, even though we're not going there today. But thoughts on that? It makes sense, right?
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. And then the definition of free will is that it's the power of acting without the constraint or the necessity of fate and the ability to act at one's own discretion. And it's the idea that humans have the power to make choices that are not predetermined by fate or divine forces.
Checks out.
Okay. Question before we go into specific, just, I don't know, examples to consider.
Let's hear it.
Can, okay. Can you think of a situation where you felt like you had no control over it and it felt like things were going to hell and you really couldn't question or place as to why this was occurring versus maybe a time in which you felt empowered by your choices?
One thing that I can probably say is anytime I fly, this was
Hmm.
before, I would get so much anxiety in thinking like turbulence, and I'm like, oh my gosh, the plane's gonna go down. Everything's gonna happen.
Intrusive
Granted,
thoughts.
everything that's happening right now with planes is terrifying to me, but
I called this.
those are the thoughts that I had
Hmm.
flying. So I'm like, is this fate? Is this fate? Am I gonna go down? What's gonna happen?
Hmm.
But the thing that completely changed it was my own free will, and I went skydiving. So now I'm like, I jumped out of a plane. What's gonna happen now?
That's,
I would say that's kind of an example for it.
I mean, totally. Two things, by the way. It's like, oh, well, free will to like actively risk your life is what you're saying.
Pretty much. Instead of being stuck in a soda can and it doing it on its own, I said, "Hey, I'm just gonna go see what it's like if it does happen."
Isn't the concept of like a plane so weird? Like literally,
It's
like it's a tin
terrifying.
can.
It's
It's a tin.
terrifying.
It's a
That
tin
recycles
can.
air. So if somebody farts in that, it's recycling.
It's so
It's
gross.
disgusting.
It's so
But guess
gross.
what? It gets us to point A to point B.
It totally does. Well, actually, I wasn't even thinking about the whole skydiving example, which was so freaking fun, by the way.
That was
We have
awesome.
so fun. Her and I did that a couple of years back, right before you had your son.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Would I do
That
it
was
again? Absolutely.
right. Well, there's okay. So going back to what you said, like I was like, oh yeah, I called that. The reason that planes are falling out of the sky, um, from an astrological standpoint, is because Jupiter in Gemini that tends to correlate with that specific activity, or that activity correlates with that transit, which is wild. I think there's obviously probably administration changes that have affected that as well, from my understanding, but this isn't a political podcast and we don't go there. It's just more or less like that's what I've heard and that's what I've seen in the news. So I don't know. Someone fact check me. But then the other thing I was thinking about too, um, was actually, and we don't have to go there because it's pretty deep, but fate versus free will with respect to your delivery.
I didn't even think of that one. I said this in the
You
very
did.
beginning too. I'm open to talking about my delivery. It wasn't an easy one for me. Actually, my entire pregnancy was definitely hard.
Hmm.
So props to anybody who has ever delivered a child, had kids, whatnot. It's not an easy thing to go through. If you guys had an easy one, I love you. You're God's favorite. You're, I don't know what else to say. But I remember talking about it with you, and I was down there, and I was probably at the time, maybe 4 months pregnant, and I had to do a card pull on me,
Yep.
and I beforehand, I always had these thoughts, and I knew in my gut, and I don't know if it was my intuition just warning me, but I was like, something's gonna happen during my delivery, and I need to be prepared for the worst outcome. And so I had Gabby do a card pull for me. Sure enough, death card comes out. And I'm
Mhm.
like, oh no, don't tell me what everything I was feeling was right. And unfortunately, I had hemorrhaged very badly during delivery. It was a long delivery process. I was in active labor for 34 hours and been pushed for 2. And I had a big baby. My kid is not little whatsoever. We just went to the doctors today, and he is 2.5 and 39.5 inches long and 38.5 pounds at 2.5. He's the size of a 4-year-old. He is massive. Granted, his dad is 6'7", so I kind of did that to myself. But I had these thoughts and thinking, oh no, something's going to happen. And I forewarned my husband, and I was like, hey, look, if this is what happens, I, I don't know how to prepare you except for telling you pick our son because I've
Mhm.
lived a life. Sorry, guys, if this is getting a little bit dark, but I had a feeling, and it might have been faith, or fate, but after I had my hemorrhage, I was like, no, I'm not going to do this. I have to stay here. And I fought so hard, even though my body was just checked out. I had an infection after it. I was in the hospital for 5 days. Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. And I didn't know if that was just my fate or what, but yeah, fate and free will. I would say I definitely pushed myself to make sure that I was good, even though it drained me.
And it's like also like the way that I was reading that, and I promise we're going to come back on track to the topic, but it's like I was saying, I was like, Brianna, it could also just be a metaphor for you literally going through like a death and rebirth of your identity. But you were
Absolutely.
adamant, which I think it was as well, but you were like, no, like something's going to happen. So it's almost like, is that predestined because the energy for it's there? And are you going in that direction? And it's the whole concept of like, well, there's timelines too, and there's multiple timelines. And I'm like, consciously aware of one that I'm splitting right now between two, but then I'm also very aware of the timeline shift that's happening for the collective, especially in the month of March 2025.
Hmm.
So it's honestly just like a mind F. I'm trying to monitor how many,
Absolutely.
right? Like I'm trying to
And
monitor how many. Go
you're
ahead.
trying not to manifest it either, because if you bring it out, it's like, okay, I've spoken about it. Is this now going to be my fate, or is this going to be my free will to do something or choose something different?
Totally. And guys, I'm not cussing as much, or at least trying to, because YouTube monitors us. So, anyways, there's just this whole, it's just like, okay, well, is it fated for us to specifically live out certain lives in this incarnation? Like, are all of us or some of us supposed to be spiritual healers? Did we actively choose that along the way? Was there another path? I mean, the list is endless, guys. So, yeah. But the skydiving example, that was prime. Didn't even think about that one.
Yeah.
Mm. Okay. Well,
Hey, I'm
um,
telling you, I these ones are just coming out of my head. Not even thinking about it.
that's the best. It's the best. So, I also think that there's like, I don't know, it's kind of hard, especially having like the astrological concepts in the back of my mind and just knowing that. But I also, for me, like when I've received a reading, I've also been like, I've been given some predictions and that I'm like, yeah, we're not doing this. Like, I'm not available for said prediction. And I will actively take steps to avoid said prediction or just like,
There's your free will.
that's my free will, right?
It's your free
But
will.
it's exactly it. But then I still arrive at said prediction. I'm like,
It's a
okay,
mind fuck.
it is. I'm like, do I even really have free will? I'm like, I don't know. Yeah. I
Do you
think
have an
that's
example?
a free will.
Mm-hmm. And fate?
Well, me doing the work, I get in doing this work. I was just telling my shaman, who I actually have a call with after we finish recording, and I was telling her, I was like, I was bamboozled into doing this work. I was literally bamboozled because at least that's how it
Yeah.
feels, and I feel like I don't have free will, but then it's like I actively said like, "Okay, I'm gonna do this," right? Because 'Cause I'm now at the next point where I'm, like, again, straddling those 2 different timelines, and I'm moving to the next chapter in my career because for me, the avenue in which this came about was my career, and we know the story. Fall guy for multi-million dollar investigation, if you've been listening to the show or if you've been a writer since the beginning. And I had a really, really hard awakening where I was consciously faced with walking away from what I had built, which was an entire department for a West Coast entity throughout my 20s. You know, I was making a really handsome salary at the time.
You were
And
killing it for
yeah,
how young you were. It was insane.
and thank you for saying that.
You're
And
welcome.
thanks. Um, and and like I knew exactly what was going to happen. I knew exactly how things were going to play out throughout that really, really hard process. It was very traumatizing for me. And it was to the point where it was like, okay, like you're psychic, you can't avoid that. Like it's in your face. You have a conscious decision if you want to stay here or you don't. But it's like, why would I stay in a situation where I was being abused versus going towards something that genuinely brought me joy? And that divine orchestration was the bamboozlement for me to agree to do this work. But it's like, would I have done this work otherwise had I not gone through that experience? And the answer is no.
No, I remember when you got your first reading too.
Oh my
It
God.
was in the heat of everything, and you got one, and I was like, "Huh,
That
okay."
was,
I
it
was
was
skeptical at first, of course.
what changed you into not being a skeptic?
Having
All
two
of your sisters doing
sisters,
it?
yeah, and our dad.
Yeah. Dad. Dad came to visit me this weekend and it was actually a really nice time. And he was making a prediction about something that's coming up in the next couple of months. And I had seen some signs of said prediction transpiring for a family member and their child, which is like hard stuff to say, right? Like to see coming. And he's like, yeah, this is going to happen around April. And because I had just recently seen what he was speaking to, I'm just like, fuck, man. So it's kind of hard to avoid. Like, if you have the heads up and you're conscious of it, it's like, well, fuck, is it free will or is it fate? Like, what are you going to do about it if you have the energy in front of you and you know how to work with it if you choose to work with it or not?
Mhm.
So is that what changed you from being a skeptic?
Yeah, and honestly, do you want me to really tell you? It was the death card.
Really?
Yeah. And
Okay.
then my delivery happened, and I said, "God dang it, they are right."
They're right. Yeah. Do you think that and again, we're going to come back to topics and specific examples, friends. Do you think that that was um how do I say this? An awakening for your spouse as well? Or have you started to see signs of his awakening throughout this process?
He's always been very intuitive. He can call stuff from a mile away, and I've known that since I've known him.
Mhm.
So it's a little weird, but he doesn't like to accept it. He just tries to say, "Oh, I just trust my gut."
Which is your intuition.
Exactly. So I let him be. I don't bring it up, and we just move on about ourselves.
But he acknowledges this though.
He
Like he
does.
knows there's a validity to it.
Oh, absolutely, he does.
He's
He
so
likes to
funny.
tease us, but that's just who he is.
That's who he is. He's also a Sag, guys, just so everyone
Hmm.
knows.
We
They're
have two Sages and a Leo in our house.
Brianna wants a whole house of fire signs. I'm like,
It's gonna happen.
yeah, I feel that for you too. So yeah, consciously avoided some decisions to avoid or consciously made decisions to avoid said predictions that still brought me back to said predictions. So maybe that's why I'm like, I think free will is intertwined with fate. So, and I have a good example of it right now. It's kind of fresh, but it's definitely with respect to my career. It's probably because my North Node in astrology is in my 10th house. So everything that I go through in this lifetime, guys, is going to be career focused with respect to my soul contract. So if you're curious about how you're probably going to experience fate and free will aside from, conscious everyday decisions, look to where your North Node is at in this lifetime in your chart. It looks like a cute little top hat in your birth chart, and it's going to tell you and give you an idea of which area of life you're going to experience a lot of your free will versus fate decisions and the soul contracts that you're meant to carry out in this lifetime. So yeah, So, we're going to go through some examples that show how fate and free will often intersect in real life. And everyone's going to interpret, I think, their experiences differently, as well as these examples that I'm going to speak to, depending on their own personal beliefs and perspectives. And I would argue to say that some people will lean more towards the idea that their lives are guided by fate, while others might possibly embrace the idea that their choices determine their outcomes. So, yeah. Do you have thoughts on that? I actually have a question for you. Do you feel like you lean more towards like fate versus free will in your life before I get into these examples?
Probably more free will than anything. I do believe in both, absolutely, but more so in where I am right now in life,
Mm-hmm.
I believe in free will. Back when I was younger, I definitely believed in fate.
Hmm. Even after your experience with the birth?
Hmm. I think
Do
it
you
changes in different times in your life. I mean, for me personally, I'm only speaking for myself. It's changed in my life a few times.
Do you think that you're more present now because of it?
Yes.
Yeah. I feel like you have a
Mhm.
lot of gypsy energy, and I mean that in the best way.
Hmm. Oh, ask you later so you can explain that to me.
Okay. It's like free bird energy.
Yeah,
Free bird, yeah.
absolutely.
I was talking to dad and I was like, "Dad, I'm like, I don't know where I want to live. I kind of want to," and then my shaman said, "This is a problem that I need to work on because I don't have an issue with responsibilities, but I have an issue with commitment. And this shows up locationally and in partnership." And I was like, "Yeah, I could just like sell all my things and just kind of live like a free bird. So since everything I do is remote." And he's like, "I was really hoping that you wouldn't pick up that trait from me." And I was like, "I feel like Brianna has this too, but in different ways."
Mhm.
Yeah. So,
Mine's not well, if I do it, it's for a long period of time, but I
mm,
would change it. If you tell me I'm the type of person where you can call me at, like, 3 o'clock in the morning and be like, "Hey, let's go get some food somewhere else," and I'll be like, "Let's go."
mhm. Yeah, that's like the opposite too of like Brianna and me. Like, I need to have a plan. This is what we're doing at this time on this day on this trip. And Brianna's like, no. But there's a mutual respect for the skill sets that we both bring with respect to Brianna, like just being able to just flow and like go with the flow and do whatever comes up. Whereas like for me, like my scheduling skill set's pretty impressive. So
Very.
yeah. Okay. Well, some of these examples, thank you for saying that by the way, include career choices, relationships, health and wellness,
Mhm.
potential life challenges, meeting, kismetly or not, someone important, your social environment and or upbringing, and unexpected opportunities. So the Sag is going
Alrighty.
to do her thing.
Let's go.
Okay, okay. So the first one, career. I think this is the one that I just recently spoke to,
Mhm.
and I think this is the one that definitely applies to me. But one example of fate within career choices could look like maybe some people believing that they were meant to pursue a certain career based on early life experiences and or having a strong natural inclination towards a particular field. And for instance, someone might feel that their passion for, medicine or for art is something that was always meant to be, and it was almost like fated by their, circumstances or upbringing. So, that's the fated example. I wanted to speak to the free will example because I think that's going to get your mind thinking.
It is, and definitely is. So, something that kind of popped up in my mind is a family that all of them are doctors. Mom's
Yes.
doctor, dad's doctor, the kids aspire to be a doctor. Um, that's what I think in along of the lines of like fate. But
Mhm.
then the kid can be not rebellious, but want to go on their own path. So that would give the free will of that side of it for them to go do what they want to do.
Mhm.
Not when they're not trying to disrespect their family, if that's what they wanna do. Are you getting what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. And it's almost like kind of just growing up and knowing that you were meant to be something and like that was for you, but then I think it's also like it's also the other side of the coin where it's like, wait, everyone around me is a doctor, and I know that's not meant for me, and I'm meant for something more, and that being the fate.
Mhm.
Is that what you were speaking to?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah. Well, then think about the free will example. So others might actively choose their career paths based on their interests, experiences, deliberate decision making, and not because of some predetermined destiny. An example might be that someone might have started in one job, but chooses to change careers entirely based on personal preferences, despite having no previous interest in that field.
Yeah, I can see that. In the sense of speaking for me personally, I jumped jobs all the time. Didn't know what I wanted to do, or I had no path on my mind. Whereas you had a path on your mind. Me, I'm just jumping. I'm jumping ship. I'm going over on this side. But I will say I have kept my entire working career as considered customer service.
Hmm.
So, uh, yeah, I just jumped a lot.
It's funny that you think that of me because I actually didn't know what I wanted to do.
Well, let me tell you, you put on a good face.
Oh, thanks. Thanks. Well, that's why our guides are shapeshifters, so it's not a surprise. Did you know that? All of my
No, I
guides,
had no idea. Makes
mine, Nicole's,
sense.
and yours. Yeah. You can try on any shoe for size, I suppose. But no, I mean, actually, maybe this is helpful for listeners out there. I actually didn't know what I wanted to do. And that's why I went to go get a business degree in school because I was like, well, fuck, I can use it towards anything, right? And then it just kind of naturally, like, I thought about the things that I really enjoyed when I was younger, and I really liked like organizing and making documents and like color coding pens and paper.
Well, you,
And
that's the OCD of you.
the OCD,
Yeah.
yeah. And then I was like, I can go into org development, right? Let me find like some type of admin job that suits this skill set that I could build out. So then like that was my jump from like I just worked in college, like basic customer service jobs, like in a restaurant, like I did whatever. And now I'm speaking so much to this career example because this is one I'm actively living out and experiencing right now. So we're gonna make a full circle so you can see what I'm speaking to. But then from there I went to go work for the IRS and I built my skill set. And then from there, I went to go work for the previous employer that I had a really hard traumatic experience with. And then from there, I was like, okay, guys, like I bend the knee. If I'm supposed to do this work, I want this type of job, I want this type of income, and I want this type of flexibility so I could build my online business, right? And that's exactly what I got. And now I'm like, okay, now what I've come to acknowledge within myself, it's like, just like these different like jobs that I'm doing just to make extra cash. So I don't want because I don't want to worry about it as I make this transition.
Mhm.
I'm like, I can fucking do anything to make money. You can do anything making money. You can sell anything to make money. Like,
Absolutely.
right? And I'm just like, well, it's all skill set building and I do think that okay, well maybe these are like the free will choices that you make to get you where you're supposed to be down the road. So it's a very in-depth conversation that feels endless. But yeah, career definitely one where I think some people are going to experience that the most.
Hmm.
Okay, the next one, relationships.
Mm.
Mhm. Okay, the fated example. People often believe they were meant to meet their significant other, as though a higher force brought them together. And for instance, some couples might feel like the timing of their relationship, like meeting each other at the perfect moment, was destined. And this is often expressed by the term twin flames, soulmates, etc. And then the free will example. I'm like, oh, maybe this like kind of brings in the energy of settling for a partner. But the free will example is that some people might view relationships as a personal choice and effort. And they might just be like, okay, like, let's just kind of do this thing and feel that their partnership has flourished because of the conscious decisions that they have made to invest the time, the energy, the care into partnership rather than any fate or destiny. And I think that's kind of a really good example of like where free will is intertwined into fate, because like you can consciously choose to invest that energy and that time into partnership so that like you guys can arrive at maybe a fated destiny, but it feels like you have to consciously decide to show up every day in partnership, and that's where the free will element comes in.
Absolutely. Every day is you're supposed to be working in your relationship because if not, then I mean, somebody eventually will check out. But the one thing that came to mind is respect to religions is arranged marriages. I don't know if there's
Oh,
still a thing, which
oh
I'm
God,
sure they are.
Brianna, these examples are great.
This is just coming off my head. But yeah, arranged marriages where obviously they don't want to get married or they pick somebody that they thought that they're going to hate, whatnot, but they put in the effort for it and the relationship just flourishes.
Mm,
That's what I
hmm.
think along the lines of the free will aspect of it, but like the fate aspect of it, yeah, you can be in like the shittiest relationship, and then all of a sudden Prince Charming comes along and comes and sweeps you off your feet after you just got out of a crappy relationship, or like Good Luck Chuck, you are the person that has had the worst relationship, nothing ever works for you, and then they go and find their matchmaker, not their matchmaker, but they find their perfect soulmate afterwards.
I was telling Nicole, I think, yeah, I was pretty sure I was telling Nicole or Angel last year. I was like, I'm the fucking female version of Good Luck Chuck. Like, every guy. And then right after, they marry their wives. I'm like, damn. I was the one to show you that they were the one. I don't know how to feel
Oh
about that.
Lord, I laughed so hard my vein popped out.
About that.
I
Hmm.
didn't even think about that.
But isn't it true?
Yeah, unfortunately, you're Chuck.
I'm Chucky.
Chucky.
Chucky? Charlie? I don't know. It's a gender neutral name, but yeah, I don't know. But okay, then I think about that from like the soul contract perspective, right? Where it's like, did you agree to come to said planet Earth and you're gonna incarnate as a female and you're gonna end up marrying Joe and you're because it's an arranged marriage and then you're gonna be together for 30 years. Like that, you know what, that concept for me comes up a little bit more with the issue, or sorry, the example of health, which we're going to get to, because it's also the idea of like, well, why would I actively choose to be born with like health ailments and have like that kind of concern in this body in this lifetime? But without getting too far ahead of myself, let me speak to this example.
Mm-hmm.
So with the area of health and wellness, with respect to fate, some people believe that their health outcomes, like genetic predispositions or unexpected illnesses, are predetermined by fate. And they might feel as though they are genetically inclined to a certain health condition as though it was meant to happen, or that they might attribute survival or recovery to fate or divine will. So that one, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that one just yet. But
Yeah.
the free will example with respect to health and wellness is that others believe their health is largely determined by their own actions and decisions. And some people, for example, someone who exercises regularly, eats healthily, and practices stress management might attribute their good health to their own efforts and choices rather than fate. So it's almost like genetics load the gun, but lifestyle pulls the trigger, that whole analogy.
Absolutely.
But it's like,
But
go ahead.
in that sense, I feel as if like free will, granted respect to people that unfortunately were born with health issues, you have the choice to put in the effort. And I always say this is we only have one body. We're not going to get into another body. In our form right now, we have one body. We have to take care of it. So you have to have the drive and the will to take care of your body because only you're going to be able to do it. Whereas, unfortunately, the fate aspect of it is your family genes and our help. I don't know how to say it respectfully, where it's like, unfortunately, you got the crappy end of the stick on that.
The genes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't mean it in the like in a harsh way, but that was your fate, and that was just what's gone on in your family's generations
Mm-hmm.
or whatnot. So yeah, that one's a little bit hard for me.
But then it's also like, did you sign up to, I think you guys, now as I'm like speaking this out loud and like talking through this episode, I'm like, oh no, I don't know if I believe in free will. I don't think I do. I don't think I do. But anyways, what I was gonna say before I like kind of came to this conclusion. This is how my brain works for all of you listening. I'm like, oh no, this is how we're arriving as she speaks it out. These are conversations I have in my mind all the time, all day. But it's like, did this health element, did these health concerns, did this issue with maybe weight management happen for you? Did you choose this body specifically to get your attention so that you could wake up to the divine? Because it is said that every sickness, every disease does have a spiritual meaning behind it.
See, I didn't know that, what the meaning behind it.
It's like hurting your foot, for example, because I'm a Pisces rising and a Pisces moon. And this applies for anyone. You don't have to have any Pisces in your chart. But Pisces placements in your chart, because everyone has Pisces in their chart. But what I was going to say, it's like the energy of if you hurt your foot, right? Or if you have an issue with specifically to the foot, if you break, God forbid, break your ankle, anything like that, the symbolism behind it is that you have a hard time and or are in fear of moving forward, since the feet are what carry you forward. Mm-hmm.
Weird. Had no idea.
I don't know. Health and wellness. I think that's one of the sticklers where I'm like, nope, everything's faded.
Yeah, you're definitely a hypochondriac. So you're very in tune with your wellness, I will say that.
She is. But then it's also like, okay, think about the infertility discussion right now in the US, right? I don't know if this is a worldwide thing, but did infertility, the levels that they're at, have to be what it has become, specifically in the United States, for us to realize that there's poison that's being put into our food that affects infertility rates?
I don't know.
Right? So it's kind of like, okay, these are like these choices that we've collectively made.
Yeah, it's like somebody can hold a cookie in your face, but you have the ability to say yes or no to eat it.
Yeah, and it's also like, well, is that going to take you down a journey that you're going to experience challenges with to potentially conceive? Because it's not just for women, it's also men, because the sperm counts are affected by it.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to bring you to this like existential crisis. That's going to have you questioning with the divine, if it's in existence or not. And is that going to lead you to like fated choices? It's endless, Brianna. It's endless.
Very, very. It's a mind fuck.
Okay. We're almost there. Okay, so life challenges. So with respect to fate, people who go through tough situations might view them as challenges that were meant to happen for a specific reason. Someone might experience a major setback, like losing a job or going through a difficult breakup, and see it as a predestined event that was meant to teach them a lesson or push them onto a different life path. Whereas with free will, alternatively, some individuals believe that their responses to life challenges are entirely within their control. They might take a proactive approach to overcoming adversity, viewing the challenges not necessarily as fate, but as opportunities for growth that require their own determination and resilience. So it's the idea of like, it's not happening to you, it's happening for you.
Yeah, I could say that. I had a friend, and he, after like making a huge change, he did a complete like 360, and it opened up a spiritual awakening for him. And he's like doing all of the work, and he like got into great shape.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I mean, free will, but also he had an injury prior, so I don't know if that's the fate aspect of it, unfortunately, but yeah, free will in the sense of him doing the work and taking the fate part of it. I don't know. I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking. My gears are turning in my head right now.
Is this the friend that I know that I read
Yeah.
for? Oh, shout
Uh-huh.
out. Shout out. He's going to listen to this. Shout out
Hmm.
to our friend in the Pacific Northwest and his
And his
wife
wife.
and his
Love them.
sister-in-law.
Love them.
They're
And his
gonna, yeah.
sister-in-law. All three of
And
them. Love
yep,
them. Oh, they're gonna
all of
freak.
them. Aw. We love our what is it? Community. Yeah, there we go. Okay, yeah. Well, free will. I don't know. Maybe free will is just you being put on path and being in alignment with what your guides want you to do because you signed up for this, and then you get to co-create with them along the way, and that's the free will energy of it. That's what I think it is. Maybe.
Maybe. Yeah.
I feel like you're really thinking about this. If you're
I
watching on YouTube,
am
yeah, you are. You are. This is
thinking
good.
really hard about
Well,
this.
this is like what it really wanted to hopefully get other people's perspectives on. Like, let us know, guys. DM us, send us an email.
Yeah.
I would love to know more about this because I've really been sitting in my thoughts about this whole concept in the last week and a half because part of me is like, I don't know that I have free will.
It's a mind boggler to be 100% honest because are you fate? Are you free will? Are you both? Do you hate both? Do you agree with both? Do you
Mm-hmm.
hate one and hate like the other? It's a very interesting topic.
Mm-hmm.
Kudos to you. It's a good one.
Well, I'm also my shaman. She told me something. I don't know if I told you this. I think I did. And she's like, "Your soul hasn't brought into the illusion of planet Earth, and if you consciously want to be here." And I was like, "Wait, full stop. What?" So I sat with that, and I was like, "I am not ready to unalive myself. Like, it's not
I would
anything
hope
to do.
not.
No, it's not anything like that." But she's like, "You have to be here on planet Earth, and not in your upper four chakras. You have to be in the lower three to get what you want." So, guys, it's not a secret and calling in a partner, calling in more abundance, more resources, being here secure with my inner child, and all the things that are the lower three, right? And she's right. Like, I do have a problem with the lower three, and that is consciously being on planet Earth. And that is kind of what she was speaking to, just, and I'm just like, but then that makes me feel like I don't have free will. But then I do at the same time. Anyways, okay, we're going to the next one because this will be endless.
Absolutely. It can be like a 2-hour episode.
Oh, by the way, this is like the natural context of text messages between me and Brianna.
Absolutely.
And
Never ending.
and then Brianna just sends me like 2-word responses.
What does it say? It's the when you're texting your sibling, it's like the guy that doesn't want to talk to you, so they answer with like one messages.
That's
It's
exactly what it
me.
is. Oh man, that's so random. Okay, 2 more examples. So, like networking, serendipitous experiences, meeting someone important. So, fate, a person might meet someone who becomes a key part of their life, a mentor, a friend, a business partner, and feels that that encounter was serendipitous as though it was destined to happen. And this could look in like running into someone at a random coffee shop who later turns out to be essential for a career opportunity that might be seen as fate versus free will, where it's like others might see some encounters as a result of conscious choices, like going to specific coffee shops at particular times to strike up conversations with whoever. And that view emphasizes that opportunities arise from the actions that you take rather than the cosmic intervention.
I'm a firm believer in everybody is put in your life for a reason.
Hmm.
Like there is a reason. It may not be good, it may not be bad, but they're put in your life for a reason.
But also, there's filler people.
Absolutely.
There's just like people that are just like passing through,
Hmm.
like boyfriends.
Yeah, absolutely. Significant others, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a
It's
thing.
just a chapter in your life.
Well, remember I was telling you I'm going to that networking event soon, and you're like, you're going to meet 2 friends there. And I was
Hmm.
like, actually, I've heard this prediction before, and actually, I do think one of them's going to be blonde. So,
I'm calling this now, guys.
well, I actually think that this episode will drop the week of or right after. So, that'll
Ooh.
be interesting to come back to Circle and speak
Guess we'll
about.
see.
Yeah, but it's like, it's also from the astrological perspective, it's happening during a Venus retrograde. And Venus retrogrades, specifically in Aries, they bring back fated past life loves or relationships. So I'm like, I wonder if I was supposed to meet someone at this time. That's a friend, not necessarily a boy.
Hmm, could be.
Yeah.
It could be like a lifelong friend.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we're calling in. So, okay. Social environment and upbringing. So, the fated example is that some people believe that all family and community that they are born to is part of their fate, and that certain life circumstances, like socioeconomic status or cultural background, determines the direction their life will take. So, being born into poverty or consciously making something of it is coming to mind. But someone who is, for example, born into a family of doctors might feel like it was their destiny to follow into their family's footsteps, or maybe because they're born into poverty, their belief is that they're meant to stay poor, or the exact example, opposite as an example. Whereas, like for free will, others believe, well, actually, I might be fact checking myself. hang on. Let's retract. The free will example for this one is that others believe that they can transcend their circumstances through their own choices and actions. A person who is born into a challenging environment might overcome their upbringing, so choosing a different path and achieving success through education, personal development, and perseverance. So that's actually like a conscious free will choice is what we're using as an example, but I don't know.
Yeah, I can see. I mean, there's so many stories where somebody's been born into poverty and now they're multimillionaires because they took the free will aspect of it and turned their lives
Around.
absolutely.
But then it's like, were they meant to do that? Was that what they
That's a real
signed up
question.
to do? Like,
Yeah, I mean, that's the real question, but no one will ever know except for them.
yeah. I do have one more, but I only said I was going to speak to those last ones. You want me to share it or nah?
Go for it.
Okay. Unexpected opportunities. So, an unexpected opportunity may be viewed as a twist of fate. So, someone might land a job after the unexpected phone call or an email that changes their life, feeling that that opportunity was meant to happen or that they were destined to be at the right place in the right time. Whereas free will, it's others might see these opportunities as a result of being prepared and actively seeking out chances. So they argue that their success came about because they were in the right mindset, worked hard, and put themselves in situations where opportunities could arise.
Thinking on that one.
I feel like that's a good example of both. I feel like
Yeah.
that's like where.
Well, that's like, say you're going to an interview and you're obviously they see the resume and everything and you're overqualified and they don't pick that person, they pick somebody that is just an entry level instead. Is that fate or is that free will?
Yeah, but it's also like, were you meant to get that job? Because I look back at, because again, a career is such a big thing for me and how I'm fulfilling my soul contracts in this lifetime. But it's like, I think back to all my jobs. I was like, no, I definitely was meant to have that job because that job led me to the next one that led me to this, to that next opportunity. So I'm like, this is all fucking planned out. It is.
Yeah. But then one little decision can put you on a whole different timeline.
100%.
Like we
100%.
have so many different timelines in our lives, and one little yes or no, or left or right, or up or down can shift you into a whole different timeline.
I'm kind of wondering if I want to use the example that I'm in right now, but I'm like, is it too fresh to talk about it?
I'd save it. I'm sure we can talk about it later.
Yeah. Well, it's a career choice, guys. It's either this coming March or September that I'm making some big changes. So I don't know. Or sooner. Who knows?
Guess we're gonna find out.
So yeah. What do you think? So fate, free will, what are your thoughts now that we've talked about this?
Still in the same. I believe in fate. I also believe in free will. They can intertwine with each other. They can be completely opposite. I feel that you may believe in fate in one point of your life, and then you might believe in free will the other point of your life. I'm not hating on either one of them at all.
Yeah. I think I'm leaning more towards fate.
I can see it in your path of life right now.
Yeah. And then I think free will is the opportunity of being in an aligned path and consciously co-creating with the divine.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because think about it. If like you're not meant to be somewhere, you're not meant to be doing something, or if you're not with someone that you're supposed to be with, you're going to get checked real quick. Like something's going to happen.
Like I said, a simple yes or no can put you on a whole different timeline.
You know what I was thinking about?
A whole different multi-universe.
You know what I was thinking about? Ferret. And I can say that because no one knows what it means.
Here's the thing. Like you said, I had to take steps to be where I'm at. And that's everybody and anything. So things happen for a reason, for sure. But yeah. I can see that. I can see that one.
I'm thinking about my past right now too. I'm like,
won't speak on any of that.
Bad juju. Okay.
I'm
I'm gonna do a card pull. Yeah, you want to interpret, Brie?
No.
Did you have a card deck?
No.
Oh, well then,
I should get one.
You should. Okay, well, we're pulling from Healing Waters.
Is that the one that has the Atlantis in it?
Yeah. It's water-based.
Nicole will appreciate that one.
Yeah. Can we hear the shuffles? This was fun.
Good old ASMR.
I can't stand ASMR.
Oh, it's so relaxing to me. Are you pulling two?
No, I pulled one, but I'm like, yeah, the first one hit. Sorry, I pulled two, but the first one hit. It's the Wishing Well. Unexpected gifts, kindness, and karmic jewels. So,
that was annoying, you can throw a coin in there and hope and wish for the best. It might be fate, might be free will.
Yeah. So this one is, it carries, or what does it signify? It signifies that great blessings, gifts, and fulfilled wishes are coming your way, and it's a sign that things are happening, that the realization of your dreams are likely to occur. And it's also a sign that helpful people are coming your way into your life to support you in creating your heart's deepest desires. It sounds like this card is all about free will. And the affirmation of this card specifically is that I receive all of the gifts that life has to offer me with an open heart and an open mind. I'm surrounded by kind, helpful people. Things are working out for me. I'm living my heart's deepest, most daring prayer. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for listening to this episode, friends.
Thanks, guys. Hopefully I didn't butcher it too bad.
No, I think you did so well. And I love the GPS.
That's a good one, right?
The tin can.
I always fight the GPS. I always race it. I always beat it.
The tarot card. Ferret.
Yeah. My whole life.
I think it's all predestined. Anyways. What?
No, it's all predestined to me. I'm on the path that I'm supposed to be on.
I agree.
And you want to know what? I've seen 5 222s today. And you want to know what that one is? Alignment.
It is. Go listen to our episode before last.
All about angel numbers.
Sure is. Okay. Well, until next time.
Bye.